Hello students, hope all of you are fine. Welcome to this new session of Python. This session onwards we are going to start with the last unit of our syllabus, that is Python and data analytics. Yes, some topics are pending in unit 4, that is regular expressions. Those units are practical, where I have to show you some practicals. What I plan is, first we try in between to complete the theoretical part when the online lectures are going on. That may have less of a problem. The objective is to complete the practical part in a offline mode. That means assume that from 10th April onwards all the things are going to be fine. Then as we were doing the practicals in the class, in the same way we will continue with the practicals in the class in an offline way, and that there you will understand the practicals in a much better way. Yes, of course, if the things does not work out in the way that it is planned, then after completing the theoretical part we'll complete the uh, practical part as well. Fine. Before we start, just few instructions to all of you. First, be careful about the deadlines of submitting your assignment, that is the first two main questions of your university question paper. Second, make sure that your journal is complete. We have completed lot of programs, so up till that you need to complete your journal. Fine. Now let's get started with the last chapter, that is the theoretical unit. The last unit has got 20% weightage, and that means 14 marks worth of questions are going to be theory questions. Those who are good at theory, this is a good unit in the sense no practical part. Yes, there are few practicals which if possible we will try to complete the practicals as well. Fine. The last unit is basically Python and data analytics. Now, uh, there are many tools and technologies, many languages which can be used for data analytics, but one of the main uses of Python is for data analytics. Now, what is the meaning of data analytics? Just let us try to understand. We first try to understand the meaning of the term data analytics. Now, what happens is we have a lot of data available with us. Sometimes the data is qualitative, sometimes the data is quantitative. Now, what is the meaning of quantitative data and what is the meaning of qualitative data? Say, for example, I say that the student Sachin is good in studies. The student Sachin is good in studies. That is a qualitative data. But if I say the student Sachin is good in studies as he scores 90 percentage in every exam, then that becomes quantitative, in the sense 90%, more than 90% in every exam. There, because I am specifying 90%, it becomes quantitative. So yes, first thing you should know is what is qualitative and what is quantitative. Most of the times, first we need to ensure that the data is in quantitative form. From the quantitative form we can always convert it into qualitative form, and once we have data in quantitative and qualitative form, we can draw a lot of conclusions from the data, and we can plan the things further. Say, for example, I have some students who are good at sports, they may not be that good at studies. So what I need to do is, we need to pay more attention to those students who are not who are good at sports, those who are good at studies and scoring good percentage. Then there may not be that an issue. So yes, we need to focus on qualitative and quantitative data. Now, in order to ensure that we have some quantitative as well as qualitative results, lot of processes are involved. First is extracting data. Say for example, I need to extract some data from the web. I need to extract some data uh, from somewhere else, maybe from individual records. Categorizing it, categorizing in the sense, again it is qualitative, in order to analyze the various patterns, relations, connections and other such valuable insights from it. Say for example, based on the percentage of marks, the grades are calculated. So grading the student involves categorizing. Yes, hence we can obtain some valuable insights from data. Now, data analysis is very important in today's business, specifically decision making. What happens is, we are not just taking decisions at random, we are making scientific decisions. That means it is more appropriate. We are having some basis, some quantitative data based on which we are making decisions, and hence we assume that the decisions that are taken scientifically, the output is going to be more appropriate and the actions will help in achieving the results in a much better way. So, once again, yes, we try to go ahead, but data analytics refers to qualitative and quantitative approach. Yes, for this we need to extract data, categorize it into various patterns, relations, connections. So let's go ahead. Now, for this, one of the terms which we need to learn is what is machine learning. In short, it is referred to as ML. Uh, in modern days, this is one of the common terms that you might have heard about. Slowly, as we go ahead in this unit, we are going to learn in detail what is machine learning. Yes, it is a category of algorithms that allows software applications to become more accurate in predicting outcomes without being explicitly programmed. In the sense, just let us go back. What data analytics requires? It requires qualitative and quantitative data. And machine learning is a set of algorithms that helps us in preparing this qualitative and quantitative data. What happens is, based on the current data that is being generated, machine learning algorithms will learn automatically and will try to make the predictions. Yes, as far as theoretical part is concerned, machine learning is to build algorithms that can receive input data and use it for statistical analysis. In fact, statistical analysis is done on the input data to predict the output, while updating the output as new data becomes available. In the sense, it is a continuous process. Based on the current data, the output is predicted. Again, as the output changes, new data is available and the output keeps on changing continuously. So basically, in short, machine learning is used to prepare qualitative as well as quantitative data. But it's an automatic process, that is, the rules most of the times are generated automatically. Human beings are not making rules to prepare quantitative and qualitative data. So that is the best part of it. Now, the machine learning process can be explained in multiple different ways. Uh, every author have their own ways of expressing what is the machine learning process. This is one particular way in which we can understand what is the machine learning process. Basically, there are 5 steps. You can categorize it into 3 steps or more. Everyone has their own way. I like this way, so I am taking this. Yes, the first step. In the previous slide, we had studied data extraction, so it is somewhat relevant to that. Identifies relevant data and prepares them for analysis. See, in real world, lots and lots and lots of data is available. Why lots and lots and lots of data is available? Because you know that most of us are busy using mobiles for at least a significant amount uh, of time of our day. Maybe we are listening to songs, we are watching YouTube videos, we are doing some chatting on WhatsApp, we are giving likes on Facebook page, Instagram, and so on. Now, with every action that we do, even if we are making a simple phone call, a log is generated. You might have seen that if I am making a call, for how many minutes, what duration, everything is going to be recorded. In most of the current mobile devices, even the communication that you had done is going to be recorded. And because such a large amount of data is being generated, that is one of the main reasons why this machine learning algorithm have developed such a long way, and because of which we are able to do lot of data analytics. Because lot of data is available, hence lot more data analytics can be done. So the thing is, here we are discussing about the first step in machine learning process. Because lots and lots and lots of data is available, it is important which data is relevant to our use, and we need to extract only that data and prepare the data for analysis. How we have to prepare the data, we will try to see further. Choose the type of machine learning algorithm to use. Yes, this is an important step. Most of the times this decision is based on individual thinking, and that is why it becomes more important. Lots and lots and lots of machine learning algorithms are available now at present, and this decision mostly depends on the type of data that you want to analyze. The algorithm that has to be used can be determined. Once the algorithm is determined, the next step is building an analytical model based on chosen algorithm. Once you select the algorithm, you need to process the data, and a model is almost prepared. What is normally done is, because lots and lots and lots of records are available, the data are first trained. That is what is step number 4. The data are trained, that is both input and output are available and data are trained. Say for example, a student has scored marks in different subjects, the grade is given. Now, if that is done for 1000 students, automatically the objective is, for the next 100 students we are able to analyze and predict the grade that the student might get. Or say for example, another example, the temperature is being recorded on a daily basis for say 3 times a day, 365 days. So we have 3 into 365 records. If the process is continued for 1 year, that becomes the training data. The next 3 months becomes the test data. That is, for the next 3 months we will try to check whether based on the training data the output of the algorithm is correct or not. So that becomes the test data set, and finally based on the test data set the output can be generated. That means the final step is run the model to generate scores and other findings. That means based on 1 year of training data, 3 months of test data, in the fourth month you are actually predicting the temperature. If you have observed your mobile, just your Google app, uh, it gives the prediction of the weather that is 10 days ahead. Yes, definitely it gives the current temperature, humidity and other statistics, but it also predicts what is the likely temperature in the next 10 days. And try to observe it carefully. Based on the changes of the current day's temperature, maybe the results are going to change for the next 10 days as well. So that is how the machine learning process works. In the sense, continuously it gets the data. Based on the changing data, the results also keep on changing. Once again, the process: first extract the data, identify the machine learning algorithm, build the model. Model is used on the trained data, the test data. Don't worry, we will come to what is training data and test data once again. Runs the model to generate scores and other findings, that is, execute the model. Probably in the next session I will try to show you what is the training data, what is the test data, and how we can use the trained data and the test data to make new predictions. I already explained it orally, but we'll try to show it in an Excel sheet. Fine. Already I mentioned few examples. One of the other well-known example is Facebook's news feed. In fact, news feed on your mobile data also. If you keep on reading some certain type of news, those type of news will come again and again repetitively on your mobile, on your Facebook. One more example apart from the examples that are written over here. Based on your shopping pattern, maybe you may be using Amazon, Flipkart or maybe other websites to do some online shopping. Based on your shopping pattern, it will suggest you the products that you are looking for. Another example apart from the examples that are written over here, if you are going to withdraw machines from ATMs, then, and if you are going frequently in the new ATM machines, based on the money that you are withdrawing almost every month, it will prompt you the amount that you want to likely withdraw. Say for example, I have a habit of withdrawing 10,000 every month. Once it learns that I have a habit of withdrawing 10,000 every month, after 5 months, 6 months, what it will do? It will prompt me to withdraw 10,000, 11,000, 9,000. That is, yes, the specific amount 10,000, but sometimes if I want to withdraw little bit more or little bit less. So that is all machine learning. Maybe if you are writing mails, the autocomplete feature, even the autocomplete feature in Google search, these are all examples of machine learning. Machine learning also plays an important role in self-driving cars. You might have heard about self-driving cars. Now, how do self-driving cars work? Yes, definitely it works based on machine learning. Yes, if you have observed, some of the mails that you are receiving almost goes most of the times goes in spam, or so how that mail filtering works? because it identifies that this mail addresses are not the routine mail addresses from which you are supposed to receive mail. Same way, when there is a large network and if you have set up a firewall, the network intruders, that means those who have an objective of hacking some data from the network, can also be identified just like spam emails. That means those who are willing to do harm to the network will have a different log, and from it this can be done. Remember, in one of the practical exams we had studied how to extract part of the log. This all things basically use that technique as well. That is how you can extract part from the log. Now, let us try to understand the relationship between data analytics and machine learning. This is just one possible structure again, one possible view of some of the authors, but in the sense it is true. Data analytics includes number of things. Uh, yes, definitely big data has to be there. In the sense large amount of data needs to be generated. Without it, you cannot do anything. Yes, on big data, a technique which in general is known as AI or artificial intelligence is applied. At the same time, two other techniques, data mining and data science, are applied. Now, the subset of artificial intelligence is machine learning, and even the subset of machine learning is deep learning. Specifically, again, it is used a lot nowadays as far as research is concerned. Further to deep learning, also new technologies have evolved, but deep learning specifically in identifying or solving graphics related problems, it is used. Yes. So this was just a brief overview about what is data analytics and what is machine learning. Again, I am going to talk about this a lot as we go ahead, but this much of briefing was required to actually start our topic or our chapter as far as the theory is concerned. Uh, Again, I will try to forward to you the PDF of the textbook that we have. Uh, that PDF was already available in the resources folder of our server, but now since the college is not accessible to you, I will try to ensure that the PDF gets to you. There are two theoretical chapters. The first is understanding problem by understanding data. As far as the syllabus is concerned, the unit is one, but in the book there are two chapters relating to it. So, what are the two objectives of the chapter? One is to familiarize you with the data sets. In the sense, it just gives a glimpse of uh, some of the data sets that are considered as case studies over here in the syllabus. The other purpose is to demonstrate some of the tools available in Python for data exploration. Data exploration, again, in the sense for extracting data and for analyzing data, for ensuring that we have some qualitative as well as quantitative output which is required for data analytics. So, we get started. Now, how we are going to go ahead? We are going to take case studies in the sense examples with some assumptions, and how we can go ahead in those examples is what we are going to study. So, what is the first example or what is the first case study problem that we are taking? We are having data of multiple users buying books online. Now we want to find how much amount the individuals are going to spend next year. In the sense, just let us try to check this. This is a rough data. Now, most of the times, the data that is available, this data is structured data. Structured in the sense which can be accommodated in the form of a two-dimensional table. You have already studied what is a table as part of your DBMS or RDBMS. Table consists of number of columns. There is user ID, some more attribute over here. This definitely refers to gender, and this is also one of the attributes. Over here it is referred to as label. What is the meaning of label? I will tell you, but basically these are columns, and this entire set of information is referred to as a row. So, rows and columns together make a table, and if the data is available in a tabular form, it becomes easier to work on the data. If you can see, this data is numeric and this data is categorical. That means in textual form, gender, either it can be male or female. So we come over here. See, basically this is these are just 4 records which shows 4 different users and how much they are spending. How much they are spending is given over here. Now, why it is given in dollars? Because in one of the sessions I told you previously that the authors of your textbook is a US based author. So, the examples that are discussed most of the times are based on the US case study. So, user ID, say for example 001 has spent $120 on books, user ID 4 has spent $270 on books, and so on. What is our problem? Our problem is based on these 4 records. Those who are in e-commerce business, specifically selling books, they want to identify that how much of money the users are going to spend in the next year on books under normal circumstances. Of course, if some case like corona comes up where most of the users are caught up in their homes, then they may read more books. So, based on these values, we want to identify what these values will be in the next year, what the users are going to spend, how much the users are going to spend based on the current data. Yes, column will represent a single attribute and row corresponding to a single observation. That is general concept of database. Now, let us try to consider what is attribute and what is label. As you can observe, here a different term is used, attribute and label. Now, attribute and label have a specific meaning with reference to machine learning or data science. So, it is important for us to understand the difference between the two. Yes, every column in a database table in general is known as attribute, but over here attributes and labels have specific different meaning. Now, just let us go back. Based on attribute 1, attribute 2 and attribute 3, we get the output of the 4th attribute. That means based on the gender and maybe the number of books the user has purchased, the total spending is the output. That means this becomes the input data set, attribute 1, 2 and 3, and the last one becomes the output, the result. Specifically, it can be quantitative or qualitative. So, attributes are data available about the case that will be used to make prediction. Say for example, let me write over here something. let me change the pointer options. Pen. Say I have an equation x equals y plus 5. I am just writing a simple equation. Now what happens over here? X is the output and y is the input. Because based on the value of y, the value of x is going to be determined. So over here in our example, attributes are this, that is y. Now it can be also, say for example, plus, I can modify this equation 3z. Now in this case there are two attributes, y and z. Sorry. And x becomes the label. I am not good at writing it. But x becomes the label, that is the output, and y becomes the y and z become the attribute or input. So in our previous case, attribute 1, 2 and 3 are attributes. The last one is the predictor, that means label. So in machine learning or data science, attributes and label have different meaning. Yes, the trick with machine learning is to build a model that generalizes the new cases. So what we want is, we have lot of y and z values, and based on that we can calculate the value of x. So when we have new y and new z, definitely we can have the value of x. So that is what we want in machine learning. To achieve that, algorithm must be derived so that it is forced to pay attention to more than one row of data. Now this is what? This is an equation or an expression, and this cannot be generated directly. After studying lot of records, we can derive this type of equation or expression. And once this equation or expression is derived, then we can easily find the label or the output based on the input or attribute. Now let's go further. The process of building a predictive model is called training. In the sense, the equation that we derived is like a model, and the process of creating this model is called as training the data. And how can training be achieved? In order to achieve training, we have to have lots and lots and lots of records. That means more the number of records, the better the training process and better the output can be. The algorithm postulates a predictive relationship. This is what the algorithm is, and x, which is the output, is based on the input of y and z. But this relationship between x, y and z, this is referred to as predictive relationship between attributes and labels. Observes the mistakes that it makes and makes some corrections, and then iterates on the process until a sound model is achieved. That is, initially it may not be y plus 5 plus 3z. As I said, initially it may be y plus 5, then y plus 5 plus z. Then as the corrections are made, it is possible that it may be still, say for example, let me try to take it. This may be modified to, sorry, it should look like 2. X is equal to 2y plus 5 plus 3z. That means there is continuously this model continuously keeps on changing, model or the expression continuously keeps on changing as new data comes in. So basically we say that there is a predictive relationship between the attributes and labels. Now, you might have heard of synonyms, that means two different words with the same meaning. So here attributes have lot of synonyms, that means they can be they can have many attributes can be known as many different terms. Attributes are also referred to as predictors, features, independent variables, inputs. Let us try to understand independent variables and inputs. Why they are referred to as independent variables and inputs? Just let us go back. In this expression or in this equation, y and z are attributes. Y they are known as independent variable, and yx the label is known as dependent variable. Because if the value of y or if the value of z change, definitely the value of x will also change. That is why y and z are known as input, because from y and z the value of x is going to determine, that is the output, and that is why y and z are independent variables, x becomes the dependent variable. If at all y and z change, x will change. So they are known as predictors, features, independent variables or inputs. Labels are known as outcomes, targets, dependent variables or responses. Yes, these terms are important. They can come as definitions or general explanation as far as exams are concerned. The attributes mainly come in two different types, numeric variables or categorical variables. Just let me specify something over here. The marks that you score in a subject may be, say for example, 50 out of 70. Now based on the marks that you score, you are given a grade. Grade is, say for example, between 45 to 50. If you are scoring mark, you get A grade. So the grade becomes categorical, but the value that you have is numeric. So the attributes can be numeric or categorical. In our previous example over here, say the gender is categorical, the other attributes are having values, so they are numerical. Always remember, in order to make good analysis, more the quantitative or numerical attributes, the better it is to find the good solution. Now, when labels are numeric, the problem is known as a regression problem. Try to recollect, students. Most of you might have studied correlation and regression in your school, maybe 11th, 12th or maybe even before that. Regression in the sense, based on the value of y, you are predicting the value of x, or vice versa. You have a regression equation as well. That is, say for example, based on what you score in maths, you are going to calculate what you are going to score in science, or vice versa. So when the labels in the sense over here, x is a label, output or predictor, they are numeric, then the problem will be a regression problem. When the labels are categorical, the problem is classification. I gave you the example of overall grade that you achieve for the result, A grade, B grade, not for individual subjects but for the overall result. Then they are categorical. A grade may be better compared to B grade, and so on. If the categorical target takes only two values, the problem is called binary classification. Say for example, the gender can be male or female, then that is binary classification. If it takes more than two values, like the grade problem A, B, C, then it is multi-class classification problem. Just let us try to once again come to this example which we were discussing. Let us go back to this initial set of records. Here we are having the amount uh, that the user is spending on books, which is, this is purely numerical data. Now, how can we convert numerical data to categorical or vice versa? Generally, it is easier to convert numerical data to categorical data, but the reverse is difficult, not impossible, and it may have more errors. So, here this is categorical data which is derived from this set of numeric data. What we are putting is, has the user spent more than $200 on books? True or false? That means there are only two categories. Here it is $120, so it will be false. $270, so true, false, and true. So, in many cases, the choice of problem type is up to the designer. Yes, every designer has a different viewpoint, and based on their viewpoint, they do different things. But my viewpoint is, more the quantitative data, it is better. Yes, in the last step, if we need to convert the data into category, we can always do that. This example problem can be converted from a regression problem to a binary classification problem. That is, this actually is done based on the regression, it has converted into a binary classification. Remember, once again, converting data from numeric to categorical is easier, but the reverse is difficult. Now, what are the characteristics of the data sets? Before you go for developing any algorithm, you need to understand the basic characteristics of the data set. The number of rows and columns, number of categorical and numeric values, and the missing values. Of course, if possible, you need to have a summary statistics. Maybe in the next session I will show you something about that also, how you can achieve it using Python, though it may not be part of your syllabus, but we will just try to see it. Yes, definitely the first thing when you want to perform any operation on the data is to check the size and shape of the data. Basically, over here we set the number of rows and columns. Now, there are a lot of data structures that we have learned in Python, and one of them is the list. A nested list, that is a list within the list, will be able to manage a two-dimensional tabular data. The inner list will become the row, and the other inner will be considered as the column, and the outer will be the row, that is the number of rows. Second, one important step as far as any data analytics problem is, you need to think about the missing values. See, basically, when we are extracting data, it is not that we are going to get all the data correctly. The example that we studied over here, all the data was there, but it is not always likely to be. Most of the times logs are generated at runtime. 99% of the logs may be correct, but 1% of logs may be incorrect, in which cases the data may be missing, that is, some of the data may be missing. In certain cases, yes, you can cope up with the missing values, because if the number of missing values are less, you can just remove those records with missing values, and hence the problem is solved. But if the records with missing values are large, then we need to fill those records. Say for example, last year the corona situation was there. 6 of your papers were completed in your final exam, 1 paper was not completed. How to give marks for the 7th subject? Yes, definitely based on the other 6 subjects you get the average marks, and this process of filling in the missing data is known as imputation, and this imputation is different based on the different types of missing values. The case that we discussed, say for example, you have appeared for 6 exams and you are having marks for 6 exams. For the 7th subject you are not having marks, then yes, the imputation can be done based on the average marks that you have. Yes, the easiest way to impute missing data is to fill in the missing entries using average values. That is what I discussed. But if, as I said, the number of rows with missing data is less, say you have 1000 records and in only 10 records missing data is there, you can easily remove those 10 records and work on 990 records. But if out of 1000 records, in 200 records missing data is there, you cannot just remove those 200 records entirely. You need to fill, or you need to, the term that is used over here is impute the missing values so that the data loss is not very much. So with this we end this session, but we just try to quickly learn what we have studied, the important points that are there. Generally we need data in 2-dimensional form in order to apply any machine learning algorithm. When the data is in 2-dimensional form, it is known as structured data. The columns are generally divided into 2 categories, attributes and labels. Attributes are like input, labels are like output. And there is a predictive relationship once the model is developed. This is the result of the developed model and it is a predictive relationship. Different names for attributes and different names for labels. Again, the values that an attribute can have is numeric or categorical. If categorical data has 2 values, it is binary classification, multiple values, multi-class classification. It is always easy to convert numerical data to categorical data, but the reverse is not always true. Now, yes, you need to do some work before you start processing the data. That is, you need some summary statistic, you need to find out how many rows and columns. One of the thing is find the records with missing values. If the number of records are less with missing values, you can remove those. If the number of records are more with missing values, then you need to carry out imputation, and one of the common process is averaging it. So I hope the things are clear. Next time we will continue with the theory session, but as I said, please continue with the practical part. Once we resume with the offline, probably we will start with the practical part as well. Thank you.